A young billionaire sat in his luxury car, success shining from every corner of his life. But one knock on the window changed everything. 2 beggars stood outside, hungry, trembling, and when he looked closer, his blood ran cold. They weren't strangers. They were his father and stepmother, the same people who once threw him out into the night. If there's only one story you watch today, let it be this one, because behind that glass, mercy and judgment were about to meet face to face. The world inside the luxury car felt like another planet. Cool air, quiet music, and smooth leather. David Iredell, 25, and dressed like victory, was reviewing his notes for a board that could open doors to new heights. His mind was on numbers, and on the future ahead. A soft tap on the window pulled him out of his thoughts. Then came another. He looked up thinking it was just another beggar or street hawker, but when his eyes met the face outside, everything stopped. An elderly man and a thin woman stood by his window. Their eyes were tired, their clothes threadbare. The man's beard was grey, the woman's hands shook, as if from winters that never ended. They asked in voices like cracking leaves, "Sir, please, anything to eat?" The man's face hit David like thunder. Samuel, his father. The woman beside him, Evelyn, his stepmother. His heart roared, his throat closed, and his vision blurred. They did not recognize him. Time had changed him, but he knew them through the bone. The driver sensed something was wrong when he caught David's expression in the rearview mirror. "Pull over," David said quietly. He rolled down the glass, one barrier gone, and whispered, "Please, wait here." He stepped out, legs unsteady, like a child learning to walk again. "Have you eaten?" he asked. "Not today, sir. Not yesterday either," the old man replied. David nodded once, just once, like a promise. "Come with me," he said softly, hiding the tremor in his voice. He was a storm inside. Outside, he was a calm stranger. He had waited for years to hear an apology. Instead, God gave him this, a chance to give bread before asking for words. And the day that should have been about money became a day about mercy. David led them to a small eatery and asked the staff to serve warm food. He stood aside while Samuel and Evelyn ate as if each spoon held hope. He turned his face away, pretending to check his phone. What he was really checking was his heart, still breathing, still beating, still tender. "Sir," Samuel said after a while, wiping his mouth with a trembling hand. "God bless you for this. We have not tasted food like this in a long time." David swallowed. He wanted to say, "Father," and wanted to say, "Why?" But he just asked, "How long have you been living like this?" "Years," Samuel said. He exchanged a glance with Evelyn. Her eyes were swollen with shame. "There was a time we had more than enough, but pride makes a rich man poor from the inside first." David nodded and passed a bottle of water. He made himself listen like a stranger would. He made himself compassionate before curious. He reminded himself, "This is not about me. Not yet." He remembered Mama Ruth's words when he was a boy. "When love and truth meet, love should enter first and sit in the front row." Taking a slow breath, David said gently, "If you don't mind, please tell me your story. I'm here to listen." The old man began slowly, as if each word cost him a coin. "I had a small company. We were not rich, but we were comfortable. My first wife, Grace, was gentle. She gave me 2 children, a boy and a girl. Then sickness came like a thief in the night. Grace went home to God, and I did not know how to be both father and mother." He turned his face toward the window, ashamed. "I married again. Her name is Evelyn. I wanted someone to help me keep the house together, the hearts together. But grief had made me hard, and fear made me blind." Evelyn's eyes filled with a strange, watery light. "I was afraid," she said. Afraid of never having enough. Afraid of losing your love. Afraid of those children who looked like the past. Fear grew into something uglier. The old man swallowed. One day money went missing. A large sum. I heard a story. He stopped, his voice cracking. I believed a lie. I accused my son and daughter. I sent them away. David kept very still. He remembered the suitcase. He remembered Amanda's hand slipping into his. He remembered the door. We learned too late, Evelyn said, that the money was not stolen by them. It was my fault, my terrible, selfish plan to help a relative with a poor idea. We lost the money. Then came debts. Then came shame. The old man nodded, eyes bright with tears. And then the fall. The business crumbled. Friends disappeared. I sold the house, the car, the furniture. I sold everything except my regret. Evelyn's shoulders shook. We have walked these streets for years, praying to meet those children again. I dream of their faces. I hear them say, Mother. And I wake up crying. Silence settled like dust. David breathed. Do you know where they are now? The old man shook his head. No, he whispered. But I would give anything to find them, to say I am sorry before I die. David looked down at his hands. In them lay a choice, to expose, to punish, or to plant a seed of mercy. He closed his eyes and heard a quiet verse he knew by heart. Love keeps no record of wrongs. When he opened them, he said, If you could speak to your son and daughter, what would you say? The old man answered without thinking. I would say, Come home. I was wrong. Please forgive me. David's throat tightened as he fought back the tears. They couldn't know. Not yet. With a quiet breath, he reached into his jacket and placed a clean white envelope on the table. This should help for now, he said gently. His voice barely rose above a whisper. Before they could speak, he stood, nodded once, and turned toward the door. The sunlight followed him out, leaving the old couple staring at the envelope, unaware that Grace had just walked away carrying their son's face. After leaving them, with the little money folded quietly into the old man's palm, David sat in the back seat as his driver drove him home. The city lights blurred past the window, but his heart grew heavier with every mile. When David got home that evening, he closed his door behind him, loosened his tie, and sank into the edge of his bed. Sleep refused to come that night. Each time David closed his eyes, he saw his father's trembling hands, his stepmother's frail shoulders, and the faces of two people who once had a home, and lost it all. The images would not fade. They clung to him like shadows that knew his name. By midnight, David rose and paced the polished floor like a restless boy. He picked up his phone and stared at one name. Mama Ruth. Mama Ruth, the warm-hearted woman who had taken in 2 abandoned children, fed them, prayed with them, and told them that brokenness didn't have to be forever. David had not called her this late in years, but tonight the ache inside was too loud to ignore. She answered on the second ring, her voice soft but awake. David, my son, why are you calling me at this hour? His voice cracked, though he tried to hold it steady. Mama Ruth, David said softly, his voice trembling. Do you remember the prayer you taught us when we were little? Her voice came warm and gentle through the phone. Which one, my son? She asked. I taught you many prayers. The hard one, he said softly. The one about forgiving those who hurt us. She laughed gently. Ah, that one. Father, soften my heart before you soften theirs. David closed his eyes. I think I'm ready to pray it. Mama, I saw them. A pause, then a slow, knowing sigh. Your father? Yes, and Evelyn. He swallowed hard, fighting the lump in his throat. They were begging on the street, hungry, so tired. Mama, I don't know what to do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them who I am. I wanted to hate them, but I couldn't. Mama Ruth was quiet for a long moment, and then her gentle wisdom poured through the phone like balm. Son, pain does not vanish when you feed it silence, but love. Love is a strange kind of power. It does not mean you forget what they did, but it keeps you from becoming what they were. You asked me what to do? Do good, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts, because that is what makes you free. David sat down, tears burning against his palms. But Mama, I don't want to be weak. Mercy is not weakness, she said gently but firmly. It's strength, the kind only healed hearts can carry. Her words sank deep, like seeds falling into soil he hadn't touched in years. The next day, David went back to the place where he had found them. The sun was low, spilling gold across the streets, and there, almost in the same spot, sat his father and Evelyn, as if time had not moved. Their faces were tired, but when they saw him approach, something like relief flickered in their eyes. He greeted them softly. The old man stood quickly, awkward and shy, like someone about to be scolded for existing. David only smiled and said, "Come with me." They hesitated, but his calm, steady kindness broke down their fear. Slowly they climbed into his car. The ride was quiet. No one asked where they were going. Evelyn held her scarf close, and the old man looked out of the window, lost in thoughts he didn't dare speak. When they arrived, night had begun to fall. A small warm house waited, not grand like David's main home, but beautiful in its simplicity. Lights glowed softly behind clean curtains. The scent of fresh bread and lemon drifted through the open door. David stepped out first and held the door for them. "Come," he said gently. They followed, timid as children in a stranger's house. Inside, the rooms were calm and dignified. Pale walls, warm lamps, rugs soft underfoot. No clutter, no sharp edges. Just peace. "There are fresh clothes in the wardrobe," David said. "You can stay here. No questions, no rent. Tonight you rest. We will see the doctor shortly." Evelyn pressed a hand to her mouth, trembling. He stepped outside and made a call. Within the hour, a kind family doctor arrived, examined them, and left behind vitamins and a simple meal plan. "Time and care," the doctor told David quietly. "They need rest, steady food, and gentle company." David nodded. After the doctor left, Evelyn's voice trembled. "Young sir, we're strangers. Why would you do all this for us?" David smiled, though his eyes carried a depth they could not read. He said simply, "Because I know what hunger feels like, even if not in my stomach. Because someone once opened a door for me." Evelyn sank onto the mattress and wept quietly into her hands. The old man stood still, touching the wall with fingers that shook, as though he was afraid it might vanish. David placed the house key on a small table. "This is yours now. Rest. Tomorrow is another day." He turned to leave, hiding the storm in his chest. His father opened his mouth to speak, but found no words. Only tears slid silently down the lines of his face. David stepped out into the night air, breathing deeply as though it could hold him up. His heart ached. But something deeper stirred too. The strange, unexplainable power of mercy. That night, David sat alone in his study. On his desk was an old photograph. 2 small children smiling beside a gentle woman with a headscarf. He touched the frame softly and whispered, "Mama Ruth, you taught us to make room for others. I'm making room tonight." His eyes wandered to the window and the past came rushing back. He saw 2 little children shivering on a cold bench, scared and hungry. He heard Amanda's small voice whisper, "Is it my fault, David?" He remembered how he had told her everything would be okay, even when he didn't believe it himself. They had slept on bare floors, shared scraps of food, and cried quietly when the nights were too long. But through all that pain, they learned one thing. Life can be hard, but God is still kind. Then came Mama Ruth. He could still see her, the woman who found them standing outside her shop, watching people eat. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "Come." She gave them food, a roof, and a second chance at life. No payment, no pride, only love, honesty, and prayer. Under her care, David grew into a man who worked hard and refused to lie. He built his business from the ground up with clean hands. When others chose greed, he chose truth. Whenever temptation whispered, he remembered those nights on the bench, and Mama Ruth's voice saying, "Do good, even when no one sees." He closed his eyes and dropped to his knees and prayed, "Lord Jesus, I'm in pain. Help me not to use their weakness to punish them. Help me to love even if I speak truth later. Help me to be a son after your heart, before I am a son of any man." The room was still. After a while, peace entered like a kind guest. He texted one person, "Mama Ruth, please come tomorrow. I need your wisdom." She replied with a simple heart and a word. Always. Mama Ruth arrived with her small bag and big piece, small, steady, and crowned with silver hair. She was not David's mother by blood, but she was mother by everything that mattered. She had found David and his sister on a hard day and turned it into the first day of a different life. She was the kind of woman who carried hope like a light in her pocket. "Son," she said, stepping in and opening her arms. David folded into her like a boy again. She felt the tremble in his shoulders and knew, without asking, something old had returned. He led her to the guest suite. Samuel and Evelyn rose when she entered. Mama Ruth's eyes took them in. Not with judgment, but with the quiet discernment of a nurse who knows what is broken and what still holds strong. They drank tea together. David watched the way Mama Ruth folded her hands when she listened. He watched Samuel's pride melt and Evelyn's fear soften. Mama Ruth had that effect. She was a living door. Later, when they were alone in the kitchen, Mama Ruth looked at David and said softly, "Have you told them who you are?" David shook his head. "No." She took a slow, deep breath. "Do you want them to know?" His eyes grew wet. "Part of me does. But part of me isn't ready yet." Mama Ruth reached out and placed her hand gently over his. "You don't have to share your pain with everyone," she said. "What you owe is obedience to God. Let Him show you when the time is right." David nodded quietly. "For now, we'll keep it to ourselves." Mama Ruth gave a small smile. "For now," she said. "But remember, the truth always finds a way to be heard." That evening, David sat at his desk and typed a message to his sister. "Amanda, I need you. Come tomorrow if you can." He hovered over the send button, then closed his eyes and pressed it. His heart beat a little faster. Amanda had survived the same storm, but the storm had given her different scars. She arrived the next afternoon, tall, graceful, with a strength that wore no hard edges. When she stepped in, Mama Grace hugged her, first as always. "My girl," she said. "You bring light with you." Amanda laughed softly and turned to David. "What is it?" "Your message was heavy." David looked toward the guest suite. "We have guests," he told her. Not everything, but enough. Her eyes widened, then they darkened. "And you brought them here?" Her voice didn't rise. It settled like a weight. "I did," he said. "I felt led to." Amanda paced once, twice, then stopped. "I know your heart," she said. "It is big and it is kind. But big hearts bleed big too." "I know," he said quietly. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to sit with me in the complicated middle." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "I can do that." When Amanda finally met Samuel and Evelyn at dinner, the air was thick with silence. "Welcome," Amanda said softly. "I'm David's sister. If he brought you here, then you're family." Evelyn's lips trembled. "Your kindness." Amanda shook her head gently. "It's not mine," she said. "It's borrowed, from God, and from the woman who raised us." She slipped her arm through Mama Ruth's and guided her toward the table. Then Amanda looked at David and at Mama Ruth. "In this house," she said quietly, "we don't throw people away. But we also don't pretend. We face the truth, no matter how hard it is." Her eyes glistened with tears, but she didn't look away or try to fill the silence, because sometimes the holiest thing you can do is stay quiet and let the truth speak for itself. That night, the three of them sat at the kitchen table. David, Amanda, and Mama Ruth. Like they had done so many times before, during storms and decisions. The kitchen light made everything feel honest. Mama Ruth poured tea. "Talk," she said. Amanda spoke first. "I'm angry, Mama, and I'm not a child anymore. I don't want revenge. I just want truth, to stand up, not crawl." Mama Ruth nodded. "Anger is a visitor. If you feed it humility and prayer, it will leave without breaking the furniture." David gave a tired smile. "How do we reveal the truth?" "Let me ask this," Mama Ruth said. "What is the goal? To shame or to heal?" "To heal," they said together. "Good," she said. "Then we proceed like doctors. Clean hands, kind words, and clear facts. Tomorrow evening, invite them to the sitting room. You and Amanda will be there. I will sit with you. No sharp voices, no old names thrown like stones. Tell them what happened to you. Let them tell what happened to them. Do not argue with tears. Let tears do their own work." "And after?" Amanda asked. "After," Mama Ruth said, "you will offer forgiveness if your hearts are ready. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means you will not seek to make them pay with pain. You can set boundaries and still be kind. You can say, 'You are forgiven, and you will not lead this family again.' That is wisdom, not hate." David breathed out. He felt like the ground under him had stopped shaking. "Thank you, Mama. Say your prayers," she said. "Then sleep. Tomorrow will be heavy, but heaven will stand with you." The next day went slowly, like a drum roll that wouldn't end. Samuel felt stronger and asked if he could sweep the porch as a way to say thank you. David agreed. Evelyn folded laundry with Mama Ruth, learning where things went as if trying to memorize her place in the house. In the afternoon, Amanda's laugh carried down the hallway. She and Mama Ruth were looking through an old recipe book. Samuel paused at the sound. His eyes softened. "My daughter used to laugh like that," he said to no one. A whisper released into the air. In the evening, a small moment almost pulled the curtain too soon. Samuel wandered toward the study and paused beside a shelf where a faint, familiar melody floated from a small music box. He tilted his head, listening. "I know that hymn," he whispered. It was the lullaby his first wife used to sing, the same one that once lulled a little boy to sleep. David's heart clenched. He stepped in quietly. The music box had come from a charity sale years ago, but now it felt like memory itself had found its way home. He managed a small smile. "Beautiful tune, isn't it?" Samuel nodded, lost somewhere between now and then. "I haven't heard it in a long time. Come," David said softly, touching his shoulder. "Supper's ready." The moment passed. The clock waited. God, David thought, give us courage for what we must do tonight. They gathered in the sitting room after supper. The air felt like water about to boil. Mama Ruth sat in the middle, a calm island. David sat on her right. Amanda sat on her left, chin high, eyes bright with held-back rain. Samuel and Evelyn sat across, hands woven together, as if they could keep each other from falling. "Thank you for welcoming us," Samuel began, always eager to pour gratitude before anything else. "We do not deserve this kindness." "Kindness is not earned," Mama Ruth said softly. It is received. Tonight we need courage. Words must walk straight. David has something to share. So does Amanda. Please listen with your ears and with your hearts. David swallowed, then began. He told them about a boy and a girl turned out into the night because of a lie. He spoke of rain, of a shop's awning, and of a woman with an umbrella who said the word child as if it could heal. He spoke of hunger and of prayers that held like ropes, of work, of growth, of wounds that had scabbed over but still stung when touched. He never said you. He said they, and as he spoke, he watched comprehension ripple across their faces, slowly at first, then all at once, like a tide becoming a wave. Amanda spoke next. The girl kept a little doll, she said. She asked for her mother's picture and was told no. She cried for 2 nights, then learned to hold her tears with both hands. She learned to forgive because God asked her to, not because she felt like it. Evelyn covered her mouth. Samuel's eyes filled and overflowed. His voice came low, broken. Please, he whispered. Tell me their names. David looked at Mama Ruth. She nodded once. David, he said quietly, touching his chest. And Amanda. The room fell into a deep silence, as if the walls were listening too. Samuel slid off his chair and fell to his knees. He reached forward, fingers shaking. My son, he said, voice wrecked. My daughter. He could not say more. Words had to step aside for the weight of all those years. Evelyn tried to speak, but only managed a broken, please. She reached for Amanda with palms open, not to grab, but to show she carried no weapon now. David stood and moved toward Samuel. He gripped his father's shoulders and lifted him gently. No, he said, tears on his own face. We will not meet on the floor. Samuel sobbed. We did evil. There is no excuse. I was a coward. I let a lie throw my children into the night. I lived with it and called it living. Please forgive me. I will carry whatever burden you give. Evelyn drew in a shuddering breath. I am the one who started the lie, she said. Greed blinded me. Jealousy hardened me. I broke your hearts because I was afraid of not being loved. I am not asking to be called mother. I am asking to be forgiven so I can die with a clean soul. Amanda stepped closer, her voice steady and clear. I wanted to hate you, she said. But hate is a chain, and I choose to be free. She turned toward Mama Ruth. Mama taught us that forgiveness doesn't mean saying it was okay. It wasn't. Forgiveness means saying, I won't hold you by the throat anymore. David nodded. I forgive you, he said, simple and true. Not because I forgot, but because God forgave me so much more. You will stay here. You will eat here. You will be cared for here. But hear this with love. The mother who raised us is Mama Ruth. She is our covering. We honor her. Samuel bowed his head. We accept. We are grateful to be allowed to live in your shadow at all. Mama Ruth stood. Then let us pray, she said. And together they did, asking for a new beginning that could honor both truth and love. Healing came, but it did not rush. It walked. The next day, Samuel asked if he could help with repairs around the house. He fixed a leaky tap with slow hands that remembered work. Evelyn offered to tend the small garden, weeding quietly like someone making peace with the ground itself. Boundaries were set with kindness. David handled finances. Mama Ruth handled the running of the home. Amanda visited often, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying without apology. There were awkward moments. A question asked the wrong way. A memory that hurt. When that happened, they paused and breathed and tried again. They learned to say, I'm sorry, the way some people learn a new language, with effort, practice, and a few stumbles. One night, Samuel asked if he could hear about their mother, the first wife he had loved and lost. Amanda told him the little things, how their mother folded clothes with humming lips, how she prayed by the window, how she called their names like a song. Samuel wept quietly. Evelyn wept too. Not from envy now, but from understanding. The love she had tried to compete with had not been a competition. It had been a gift to the children, and she had thrown stones at a gift. David sometimes walked alone in the evening, hands in pockets, thinking about the strange way God writes stories, with sharp edges that somehow make room for soft endings. He was not naive. He knew not every tale ends like this. But he also knew that obedience is not about the results. It is about answering the door when mercy knocks. And mercy had knocked twice, once long ago with an umbrella, and now with 2 worn hands on a car window. Months later, the house felt different. Lighter. Not perfect. No house is. But honest. Samuel had a new habit. Every morning he wrote a letter to the children he failed, even though they sat at the same table now. He said writing helped him remember to live like a repentant man. Evelyn kept a small notebook too. On one page she had written, "Jealousy is a thief. Gratitude is a guard." Amanda brought home-baked bread on weekends. David planned the next charity project, this time focused on helping families caught in shame and silence. Mama Ruth smiled at all of it, her eyes always wet when she prayed, her voice always calm when storms tried to revisit. One evening they all sat together after supper. Samuel spoke first. "I once thought wealth was proof that I was right. Then poverty taught me that I was wrong. Now love is teaching me to be new." Evelyn reached for Amanda's hand. "Thank you for forgiving me," she whispered. Amanda squeezed back. "We are not what we did," she said. "But we must face what we did to become who we should be." David looked around the room. He thought of the boy who once waited in the rain, the woman who opened her door, and the family that learned to be whole again. Not by pretending the past never happened, but by placing it in God's hands and walking forward together. He stood and spoke the last words of the night, the ones he wanted their hearts and ours to remember. Forgiveness doesn't erase consequences, it transforms them. Pain doesn't have to rule us, it can teach us. What we choose at the window, hardness or mercy, can change everything. And so the story turned toward morning. Slow, bright, and honest. Not a fairy tale, but a faith tale, born of tears, truth, and second chances, the kind of dawn that only mercy can make. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, because sometimes the doors we open for others become the very doors God uses to lead us home. Tell us in the comments how this story spoke to you, and where in the world you're watching from. We'd love to hear your voice. Don't forget to subscribe to Folktales by Olivia for more emotional, dramatic, and unforgettable stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and keep believing in grace.